Hello everyone. So my name is Simonas and I'm delighted to be here with you at this conference. And today, like I just said here on this video, I will quickly tell you the story about Danske Bank as an IT organization here in Vilnius, Lithuania, and the short story about the Kubernetes and what we have achieved with this open source product. So, just to start, so my name is Simonas Kareiva and I come from this place called, how do I switch that, Danske Bank Group IT Lithuania. And since we have started in 2014, we have built quite some numbers here, and if you can see those numbers here, and of course it starts with some hiccups that my work connection to the promised production is not actually working. So, but I promised you the demo, so I'll give you the demo. So when we started in 2014, we were like 12 people, and we did not actually know what we are doing for the first couple of days and weeks. But in 2019, there's a glance here. We are 925 employees coming from more than 350 companies and 13 countries, and we actually have some more numbers here. I would like to focus mostly about those two on the left-hand side. So we have out of those almost 1,000 employees, we have a split between the technical organization, which is a half of it, and the development organization, which is consuming the products from the technical organization. So I come from that CTO, the organization, and my role is basically a platform engineer. So the story. If we go back to year 2014, before the Big Bang, before the group IT was established here in Vilnius, actually it was some sort of like Big Bang, and we don't question what was before, but the rumors say we were a Windows shop. So there were Microsoft products, there were Windows servers running weird applications, and when we started in 2015, so the first thing we've done, we've introduced and insourced like a ridiculously small number of Linux servers, and we've insourced 20 servers. We have delivered a Red Hat Enterprise Linux version 6, so that it became available to the developer organization in the bank. And then we started to think like, okay, let's make it a cloud way. So that's year 2015. So we had private cloud version 1, and well, at that stage, at that point, we thought like, okay, is it just going to be servers and that's it? Or is it something that we can do about it to make the platform more usable, more acceptable by the developer organization? And actually, to mitigate this sense of void, we have started to think like, okay, what can we do on top of Linux? And with the first proof of concept, we have thought like, okay, should we do an Apache web server, or should we do some Java web server or something? But we thought like, okay, let's go slowly up the stack and start with RabbitMQ. I'm not going to stick about RabbitMQ and other things that we delivered on top of the platform. So let's go to 2016, and of course we have given out the RHEL 7 to the developers, and we have also introduced a couple of nice tools. At that time they were nice and they were well known. Like you can go to ServiceNow and order a laptop, and it comes to you maybe in a week. But a Linux server comes to you in 20 minutes, which is good. So then we thought, okay, we have RabbitMQ, maybe we'll introduce something else. So we went with Elasticstack, and then it was also a success, and it's being widely used today. But still, there was a lack of completeness. And then at the very end of 2016, we have actually introduced the idea of Kubernetes or OpenShift, and we presented it to our design authority, and it was late 2016. But the thing is, we've just took, I guess, a couple of months before we felt so empowered. So we had e-banking moving to our servers. Like I build a server, and then there's like an e-banking solution coming and deploying on that server. So there was a sense of success that was in the air, and then we started to life cycle to cease development on old platforms. We have introduced CI/CD on the Linux servers to deploy chef configuration. But eventually, in the second quarter of 2017, we went live with the OpenShift Container Platform 3.4. And this was a major milestone. I'll come to that later, why it was such a big moonshot. So, going to year 2018, I guess it was, we have also introduced version 2 of the cloud. So the version 1 of the cloud was where you point and click and you get somewhere a server pops out, while version 2, we even had t-shirts with the Cloud 2 on top of them, saying like, okay, this is now API driven, so you don't click, you don't push a button. It's all based on APIs, and you can do a lot of stuff on top of that. You can terraform your enterprise environment. You probably know Terraform as well. And the thing that actually gave us even more power is that OpenShift was the main compute, no longer a server, not a mainframe, not a Windows machine. It's OpenShift as a main compute platform, and we have achieved a lot of smaller milestones, like we launched in DMZ, we could deploy customer-facing applications, and we went bare metal, so we removed the slices that we don't need, the virtualization layer. We have also life-cycling because of it as well. So, now, what is OpenShift if you don't know? And so, just a couple of things to get things straight. So, OpenShift is, first of all, Kubernetes, right? So, it has this container runtime and packaging. This is it's a completely Red Hat slide. And I guess that by saying, okay, it has this container runtime, it has the Kubernetes layer, but what is it on top of that that actually buys people's hearts, and why we have developers onboarding to OpenShift, is that when you want to talk to Kubernetes, like in the Kubernetes language, how do you start? Like, what is the start? What do you have to give to Kubernetes first? That's a question to the audience. Like, what do you give to Kubernetes? You give something. In the end, you give a container image, right? Okay. You give it an image and it orchestrates the image. So, but basically, OpenShift is where we have another layer on top, which is actually doing asking the developer a question, like, okay, where is your code? Where is your business logic? I'll take care of everything. And this is actually where we had the focus on writing the code. Actually, we don't like the DevOps in this classical sense in the organization internally, because if you talk DevOps like in that very classical sense, it implies that you have to take care of everything and everything to the electricity part in the data center if you're a business application developer. And this focus on writing the code allows people to concentrate on the business problem. It does not give you even the chance to actually think, okay, how do I do my patching of the servers in Kubernetes? How do I upgrade a version? So people that are working with OpenShift, they're literally doing the business application delivery, and they are focusing on the value that the application brings, instead of thinking like, how do I do this data center migration? How do I fail over? How do I do security updates? So, and besides that, we also had some selling points in OpenShift. For example, a very nice security constraint. We had audit logging, we had metrics, and a lot of stuff that is built on top of Kubernetes, and while maintaining the compatibility. So why the devs use it? So the developers in Danske Bank Group IT Lithuania use it just because the effort required to run like a simple .NET Core application is way less than it's required to do the same on the classical infrastructure. So this is the ad from our internal Confluence page, and this is actually it's pretty well unchallenged. So if you want to go, if you run a Python Flask application on a Python or on a whatever Linux server, it takes you in a big organization. It might even take you 2 days to set it up. I'm not talking about like the usual stuff you have to do in the big organization where you get security approvals, firewall ports, so on and so forth, load balancers, a lot of stuff that you have to have, also virtual IPs and so on and so forth. But on this platform as a service on OpenShift, you basically give it in 15 minutes. I hope I will have the time to show you that. So, but there is this other side of the organization that also loves OpenShift, and it's ops, so it's us, and why we use it. So, if you take the classical problem of segregation of application from infrastructure, if you use something like configuration management, like Chef. So this is an example. You don't have to read this. This is an actual example of a dependency graph where at the very top there is some sort of like a middleware application, and at the very bottom you have infrastructure, cookbooks. That's the Chef graph, I guess, dependency graph. So you have this big gray area of grayness, and you don't have this boundary where the responsibility ends. And it's very important to have a segregation of duties in a big organization. And this picture doesn't probably talk about itself, but you will see another statistical slide just a few slides after, where you see the success of OpenShift, why this was really loved by the ops and by the devs as well. So when we have Kubernetes as an orchestration layer and as a container runtime, this is the clearest segregation between duties of a devs and ops in the organization, where we have 2,000 developers globally. So this is very important because the segregation is very important. I can give you an example. If you write an application which writes into a syslog of a Linux server, and if that syslog is controlled by some sort of like infra configuration management, so you will have an endless clash between application and infrastructure, even because of such a small problem. If you get at scale, if you deploy on thousands of servers, eventually such small problems become really painful. So let's move on. And so what is inside, you say? So OpenShift as a platform, it's an open source upstream with downstream of an enterprise version, and I'm mainly going to talk about about it in a general sense. So we have a lot of programming languages that are supported by OpenShift. So you basically throw the code at the OpenShift builder, and it gives you the working image, and it deploys using a Kubernetes replication controller. It also has middleware and databases. It doesn't have really good storage. That's really a problem. So there is no good storage in the market that is some sort of like a persistent, fast, and Kubernetes compatible. So this is a real pain, and we are using Gluster for that. But anyway, you can't run normally a database which persists to storage. If you want to take the bank's ledger, like the whole bank's book, the big book, and put it on OpenShift, it's going to be a problem because you have to persist things to storage really a lot. So if you want to run something on the RAM, it's fine. So, and the last but not least, the most popular thing except the top two is CI/CD. So basically you write your own definition of a CI/CD, what you want to achieve with your pipeline, and you just throw it at OpenShift, and OpenShift behind the scenes, it creates a Jenkins instance. That Jenkins instance ingests your pipeline, and you're all set, and your pipeline just does exactly what you have intended to do. Now, some numbers. So OpenShift started in Q2 2017. I know that this graph is incomplete, and this is an actual graph. These are actual numbers that basically we don't ask people, do you like OpenShift? Do you like Kubernetes? Do you like the source to image mechanism? We don't ask that. Well, we sometimes ask it just for fun. But basically those numbers talk for themselves. So this is an accumulative graph with lines, with total projects on OpenShift in our production, and total number of users, while the bars are new people coming and joining our OpenShift in a month. So basically, if you remember, I said that we have 2,000 developers in the whole group. So now we're almost 800. Today we have March 2019. So this is a bit out of date, but the trend is going, and currently we are almost 800, 790 something. So this is an indication that the OpenShift and Kubernetes is a real success in Danske Bank and Group IT, and it might be success a huge success in any other company like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be some company that only is focused specifically to bleeding edge technologies. You can take the enterprise like Danske Bank and transform it very quickly in 2 years. So basically, if you look what's next, we're afraid because, well, we'll have capacity issues in 2019, and we have this gut feeling that we'll have to deal with it. So what are those customers actually? So the customers that you might not be fully acquainted with, but some of you might know and might recognize that we have a district platform, which is one of the most prominent dashboards, financial dashboards in Denmark. So you set up your own business financial dashboard or personal financial dashboard. We have investment portals running on OpenShift, and one of them is June.dk, where I'm not entirely even sure what they are actually doing, but they are really running critical businesses, and there's a lot of money going back and forth. So if you want to approach a Danske Bank teller or a consultant, online meeting booking is a system which runs on OpenShift. If we don't operate OpenShift and if it's not available, no customer can book a meeting with a bank's employee. So and of course we have security. We have really huge focus on anti-money laundering. We have behavior biometrics running on OpenShift. So if you are running, if you're giving your mobile bank app to somebody else, and these are some biometrics that actually prevent of somebody else doing some other finger press and trying to steal your money from your account. So there's an alert because it's saying it's a different behavior in your app that we observed. And of course the mobile bank, which is since Danske Bank is one of the biggest banks in the Northern Europe and the biggest bank in Denmark, so the mobile banking also is a really important customer to us, and we have a mobile bank front end running. We have API gateways running on OpenShift, and the new customers are coming on a weekly basis. So tools that actually help you to achieve. So it's not that OpenShift is the whole stack. Of course, you have to have your own tools that help you. For example, we're really grateful to Avi Networks to deliver a networking solution to OpenShift, which is like Kubernetes has ingress and egress, and it's all nice and shiny. But in a big organization, you have to actually think a little bit broader sense. So you have to have IP isolation, security, and termination, load balancing. Not on OpenShift, but externally, and Avi Networks does the job. I will show you in the demo how it looks like. So we have the whole Atlassian stack, and we have Bitbucket as a source repository, of course, the Visual Studio, the GitLab, the Team Foundation server, where we usually ask people to build heavy builds, and when it comes to Microsoft and .NET Core. So this is actually a place where it's going to be used less, because Red Hat and Microsoft has been collaborating really well to deliver a good Microsoft .NET Core build solution on OpenShift. So, and there are other tools, of course, and Red Hat also offers a broad spectrum of developer tools, and most of them, they are like freely downloadable. So we love Red Hat as a company, which is not the enterprise part of it, but the open source part of it. And some of the things that they do on the open source world are really great, because I can just have a copy of the bank's OpenShift on my laptop and run it on an open source version of it. Okay. So I'm pretty conscious of the time, and this is the end of the presentation as such. So I'll try to pull it out, connect to my, as promised, to the production environment, and see how far we can go with the demo. And of course, this had to disconnect. It had to fail. So. Let's see if we can just connect back to where I was 5 minutes ago, and then if not, we'll just switch to the Q&A session, and it takes some moments to connect. But basically what you will see in the demo is I have a Node.js sample application here, right? So the Node.js sample application is just a code that you wrote and you don't know actually what to do with the code. You are a person in an organization which is basically just giving you the laptop and the code editor, and that's pretty much it, what it gives to you. But then you have to somehow deploy it somewhere. So if you take the usual path, you will probably be doing a lot of classical Linux server building, like trying to find out where can I get some platform to get some CPU resources maybe from, and so on and so forth. So what the crux of the demo will be like, take the code, shoot it at OpenShift, and see what it gives to us. Okay? Right. Okay. Now I'm entering a very secret password. And see if we can get there to make the demo run. Okay, looks good. So this is my work laptop. This is an actual production environment, and let's refresh to see if we can take this. So this is an example GitLab environment, right? It has a demo application. So I'm taking this Git URL, right? And we have OpenShift. So OpenShift is seriously, are you not dropping me off? It should come in a moment. You guys, I hope you're not connecting to this organizer's Wi-Fi, but it's coming. It's slow, but it's loading. So basically, what I will do, I will just give my code to OpenShift, and we'll see what it does for us. This is actually like, well, like I said, production environment. It is just disconnected. Yeah, I know. If you have a USB Ethernet, I would love to connect, but I will try to maybe. It's reconnecting. Okay. We'll figure it out. So if you just keep your phones low somewhere, it should go through eventually. It's fine so far, but I'll use it as a backup. Thanks. It's not USB, by the way. It's some weird proprietary enterprise something.
Thunderbolt.
Thunderbolt. Okay. It uses USB-C, USB, but it's coming. It's we still have some time, I guess, and we're time aware. So let's force it to give us the demo. So the bank is fine. It's just that the internet is not doing well. Oh, nice. Okay, let's just give it a try. I have plenty of power, so I'll just try to do that. Okay, it's reconnecting, and if it's reconnecting, it's going to be all right. And one more time, because I had to kill the Wi-Fi, and we're good. Right, a demo saver. Let's return to the start. So okay, so this is where I start in Danske Bank. So I'm a new joiner developer, and I really need to figure out how to deploy my application. And we have 800 projects today in this environment. So let's go to the demo dev project here, and we have people playing actually with Jenkins, with .NET runtimes, and what do we have to do is let's just browse the catalog here. So this is this catalog of things. Let's go to languages, JavaScript, and pick Node.js. Okay, I'm doing it quickly, but the ultimate goal is to just give you the sense of feeling. How do you deal with OpenShift as a whole? So this is the application name, DevOps Pro, and the Git repository. Okay, so this Git repository runs on some open source GOG's Git server, which is also running on OpenShift, but it's another story. Let's use Node.js version 8, the latest. That is it. So let's see what OpenShift does for us now. So we have a DevOps Pro application just landed in my project. And the first thing to do, I will quickly explain. So you have to give an image to Kubernetes, right? If you want to give an image to Kubernetes, you have to build it according to some sort of like a thing. So first the thing OpenShift starts to do is basically it takes the S2I magic, the source to image magic, which clones my Git repository, and it starts to do npm stuff. If it were a Python Git repository, it can even detect using some very simple intelligence what is the repository, what is the language in that repository. So basically I pointed this is a Node.js thing, so it's building it in production mode. And if you look closer, I'm not sure if you can look closer here, but so there is a service already here. This is a Kubernetes service which is serving this on port 8080. And we have next to the build here, we have an actual route already there. So what will happen when the build is complete? Basically things will be things will be going in this sequence. So the build pushes an image to an image stream. A deployment configuration and a replication controller, a Kubernetes controller, is polling on that image stream. And once the image is there, it triggers a deployment, which you can see here is actually happening. So this deployment is now running, and it's trying to scale out to 1 with this new image that the OpenShift produced and gave to Kubernetes. Okay. How much did it take? With all the internet and cable and all that stuff, it took 7 minutes for us to deploy a demo application. And this will not work, and you can observe why it's not working here, because the port should be 8080. And just to remind you, this is an actual workflow for a developer in our group IT. So it takes you from the code to actually running it here 15 minutes if you have a bad Wi-Fi, and 7 minutes if you have a cable connected. So a couple of things to iterate on. So if you can see here, we have a fully working URL, right? And this URL actually talks already our service. We can go to the service here, edit YAML, so it's all YAML like it's Kubernetes. We change to port 80. It just works on port 80. So if you want to scale up to 2 pods, it scales to 2 pods. So, but this is Kubernetes stuff. I'm sure you are aware what is a replication controller in Kubernetes. But what OpenShift also gives for you here is a tight integration with this cloud connector in Avi Networks, in Avi Vantage router. So we go to a thing called route here. And this route, while it's created 3 minutes ago on port 8080, I just switched to 80, so I have to save it. And it says it's exposed on router Avi Vantage. So another piece of technology that gives you your own IP address, your own DNS name, and your own load balancer for your service. So if you go to services and you go to DevOps Pro, then you have okay, I've scaled out to 2, so it's 2 pods are receiving traffic on this route, and this route is basically just switched from port 8080 to port 80. So it's the same cheesecake. So, and another thing, if you go to pipelines, so basically there is a demo project pipeline where you can just create a pipeline from a JSON file, and what happens automatically in the background, you have a Jenkins application which starts, and it has all your pipelines already embedded there, so you don't even go to Jenkins from OpenShift. OpenShift handles this transparently for you. So I think that this is actually the whole set of the technology stack that is capable to being hooked up together with OpenShift is really what bought the hearts of our developers. Okay, so we have 10 minutes left. So I'm ready to take a couple of questions. If there will be no questions, I have some prizes here, and I would like to play a Kahoot game, if that's fine, which takes 10 minutes exactly. So if you have questions...
Sure. So we can go to the questions part now.
Sure.
and maybe some questions from the audience.